Hello everybody, welcome along. We are going to try, if I can get in the middle of the shot, and go live today with today's football update. Haven't done a live one for a while, had a few problems with them uploading afterwards, so we'll see how this one goes. But if anyone appears in the chat and has questions, we'll do some questions at the end, and hopefully all the technology is going to work well today. So first news is Premier League should be back training today, so queue up every tabloid newspapers, drones flying over training grounds and lots of lonely players kind of doing their individual training or their small groups. They allow groups of 3, I can't remember exactly what the protocols. So training was unanimously agreed by clubs. We're also expecting the first batch of actual test results for players to come through 2 p.m, I think. So hopefully we won't get a load of hysteria, but we do have to expect that some of these Premier League players coming back are going to test positive. I think it was like 10 out of 1,500 or something in Germany, so be interesting to see here. Obviously much longer lockdown here than when the players did go back in Germany, so does that mean the number will be less, or are we comparing now how the English players have distanced themselves, and then there's the matter of players being asymptomatic and not showing but testing positive. So hopefully there's no hysteria, and that will be dealt with in the safest way possible. Phase 2 of the training, which is the contact training, they've said 7 to 10 days. So I'm guessing that's the back end of next week, or does that just align with June the 1st? You'd think that they won't go ahead of the government advice. Richard Masters said yesterday from the Premier League, we've been focused on this staging post. It's not a firm commitment for June 12th. He's talking about the eventual start. What we were able to do today is basically move forward on small group training. So we haven't changed the start date. We have to be flexible about it. We don't want to continually move that start date. I think we're all pretty certain that that start date will get moved and it won't be June the 12th. But maybe we might wait till phase 2 of the training. Oh no, that would be in 10 days' time. They wouldn't be able to, then there'd only be 12 days to go from their quote start date. I'm guessing we'll get something in the next week where it'll either go back a week or 2 weeks. The reports yesterday were June the 19th. So I think the big thing with that today is hopefully there's no hysteria if and when Premier League players' test results come back, and a few of them do have to go away. Obviously, their health is paramount. Now, the next stage, obviously, from the Premier League coming back along, is we've had the first European discussions, obviously Bundesliga back as well, but it looks like a big roadblock for those two European, the Champions League and the Europa League. And this is all to do with this statutory 14-day quarantine period for players after international travel. So obviously huge sticking point if you're going to play a game in another country, like presumably UEFA would want the Champions League to do, then in that instance you would have to fly, land, wait 14 days, train for a week and then play. So completely not feasible to play a game in another country whilst those quarantines are going on. Okay, the clubs were hoping that it would be waived for elite athletes, I guess, given the amount of testing and health and safety. If they can land at customs or whatever and slam down a huge load of data saying that these people are safe. But I guess we've heard all about different strains of virus from different countries. So as much as we're pleased the Bundesliga is back and Premier League making some progress and EFL kind of following behind with their lead, I think the UEFA guys, unless we do get some kind of quarantined mini tournament, after the league is finished. God knows. They're seeming very unlikely to get that at the moment, aren't they? Government ministers have vetoed the exemption. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of lobbying yet, given the money and UEFA and the power, etc., etc. So does feels like with the Premier League that we could do without a whole another load of negotiations, etc. But as ever, maybe we'll see money talk. I'm not sure how the public would feel about special exemptions for players to go and play Champions League games when it is essentially just fulfilling contracts. But we'll see how the landscape changes. If they're hell-bent on playing the Champions League, then we're already looking about playing into August, given I don't know, June 19th, or maybe it'll be June 26th, maybe even into July. Then just no chance of doing both is there at the moment. So yeah, we'll see if they want to tack the European competitions in a kind of little tournament on the end there. I don't know what stage is that. I think they're at the quarterfinals, aren't they? So arguably you could do it in a week, couldn't you? You could have all the clubs over and then play all the quarterfinals over 2 days and then leave again. Like a World Cup, basically. So yeah, get your thoughts in the comments on should players be exempt from 14-day quarantines to play European football if their clubs can provide very, very detailed information on their infectiousness or not. I can't see that playing well with the public, I have to say. Something else that didn't play well with a lot of the public was yesterday the SPFL, the Scottish League, made their final call, cancelling the season and awarding the title to Glasgow Celtic on points per game. I believe Celtic were 13 points clear, having played a game more. I guess 10 points gap. Hearts got relegated, as Tom says rightly in the chat there. I've had plenty of people in the comments over the past week or past weeks saying that this is the way they would go with England. And remember, one of the big stumbling blocks with EFL discussions is there does still need to be a process put in place if a restart occurs, and then there's a curtailment after that. If, for example, God forbid, there was a second spike, or I don't know, an outbreak within a club, however unlikely that might seem from from the German example. So who knows? Who knows what the right thing is to do? But I think there's a difference between Scotland and England as well. And this is the difference between probably the Dutch call and other nations as well. Just the money of the Premier League is what is pushing this forward. So yeah, get your thoughts in on that Scottish decision. What it does do, and what we like in these times, is practical examples and evidence. So the good news now is we have a practical example of Germany playing on, and we have a practical example of financial. We'll see what happens to Scotland going forward. Obviously, the comparison would be, and there's no disrespect for SPFL clubs, because but the comparison turnover-wise would more be with Championship clubs than Premier League clubs. Let's just say. We have another managerial move. There's been 3 now, if you count in Mick McCarthy going out of Ireland and Graham Jones at Luton. So Nigel Clough of Burton has not stepped down yet, but kind of a soft announcement, will be stepping down and standing aside for Jake Buxton, who I believe he signed 3 times as a player. Buxton, centre half, 35 years old. And it appears that Clough has it's a new broom there, and it's a cost-cutting thing, and allowed Burton to kind of re-stabilise there in League One. I'm sure they're not in the unholy alliance with Ipswich and Sunderland and Oxford and Pompey and Fleetwood to play on. So Clough has gone. He's been a really, really good manager for Burton. Chairman Ben Robinson says, at present we have no idea when football will be safe to restart and whether we'll be able to play in front of crowds, which brings a high degree of financial uncertainty. It's therefore with a heavy heart that after talks with Nigel, Gary and Simon, who I guess are his assistants, we have agreed that their departure will help us meet these challenges. So we've seen Luton act, now Burton as well. Get your thoughts in the comments on Clough standing down. Seems to be a kind of magnanimous gesture. I must confess I've been to Burton a couple of times in the last 2 years, and when I go there I think what a well-run organisation, punching above their weight. Small ground, presumably small revenues, and a couple of seasons in the Championship is absolutely amazing. So I'm sure Clough will be linked with, look, every time Forest and Derby comes up he gets linked because of his surname, doesn't he? I'm sure he'll be linked with, I would think Championship clubs would have an interest in Nigel Clough for a vastly experienced guy. So an interesting one. And are we going to see other clubs move the same way and get managers out just purely on a cost-cutting exercise? Luton, maybe Burton, can both be said to be doing that sensibly. Finally, an interesting story, and then we'll do some questions if there's any come up in the comments there. The Daily Mail report that plans to mic up the dugouts are being kind of vetoed, given swearing and giving away tactical advice. I get the swearing angle if you're trying to broadcast, and advertisers won't be happy obviously with managers swearing, although we do get the amusing Sky TV chants from the Leeds fans, don't we? And the crowd noise bled out every time one of those comes out. With the tactical advice, you're in an empty stadium, so the other manager's going to hear it anyway. But I guess if it's delivered in a covert way, quietly, I would love to hear players being, kind of mic'd up. I'm a nerd though, I love going to reserve games and hearing what is said on the pitch. I'm always fascinated. I always believe fans don't understand goalkeepers properly. I'm always fascinated with the dialogue from goalkeepers from the back, etc. So, there you go. Last story there. No micing up as such, but I'm sure we're going to hear a fair amount of stuff. Right, I'll do some plugging, and I'm looking down here into the comments now. Hi Adam and Eve, hi Seb's Streams. Got some Leeds fans, as always, Leeds fans everywhere. We've got tons of them, Jesus. Any questions coming in the comments? My God, the whole Leeds supporter base is in the chat by the look of it. Is it your preference that leagues are cancelled in the same vein, or would you prefer leagues to resume? I prefer leagues to resume if it can be done safely. I've got no issue with it being behind closed doors. I've got no issue with it being done at neutral venues even. So, as long as it's done safely, that would be my preference. James asks, what are my thoughts on the situation at Charlton? If you watch my interview with Kieran Maguire, financial expert, he's got Charlton on his worry list. There, obviously, the situation that the Châtelet went, and then new owners, and then just a bit of a mess. I think it was Matt Southall, wasn't it? And he was then removed. So yes, I'm worried for Charlton financially going forward. I happen to think Lee Bow is a pretty damn good manager as well. So Mally, the questions disappear in the stream. So if you wouldn't mind rewriting the question, I'll answer it, because I get one and then they disappear, so the screen doesn't fill with questions. Maybe I can change that in the stat. Favourite non-mainstream player at the Championship? What a great question. Non-mainstream player. My God. Alex Mowat, there's one for you Leeds fans, does a great job at Barnsley with progressive passing. It's been so long since we've played. John Swift at Reading for similar reasons, though he feels quite mainstream because he came from Chelsea, didn't he? What is your opinion on Rooney's constant whining? I'm not displacing his concerns, but one would imagine a sufficient test. I don't know exactly what Rooney has said, but I did hear on the Sunday supplement his ghostwriter saying he's actually a bit more of a thinker than some of us would consider. I'd have to read the the comments that he's made. I'm not sure he's the PFA link at Derby as well, although you would have thought that would have been Richard Keogh at the start of the season, but obviously isn't now. Just on Rooney generally, I love having him around in the Championships, so yeah, I'll have to read what he says. Did I watch any of the German games? I was showing concerns of taking the virus home. I would hope with the testing it would be less of a risk, but I have to read the comments, Melly. Michael O'Neill on Stoke. What was the other question? So I need to answer about German games and Michael O'Neill on Stoke. Sorry, the questions disappear as I go. I did watch the German games. It was great to see things back. I think they did their absolute best. I've not seen Erling Haaland play before. I know lots of you Leeds fans in the chat are interested in Erling Haaland, given his background as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I've got high hopes that the Premier League can deliver something vaguely entertaining and keep us going. There was a question about Michael O'Neill. He's done. I know there's been defeats for Stoke, but if you actually look at just hard figures of the points per game before he was there and the points per game afterwards, he's really moved them forward. I've been very critical of Stoke's spending of their parachute money. It's been really bad under Rowett and then under Nathan Jones. So yeah, I think Michael O'Neill's done really well. It'll be third year parachute, won't it, next year for Stoke? So the chances diminish, but then we go into the whole conversation again of Rick Parry's intention to make the playing field fairer in the Championship. But I suppose you've still got Bet365 behind Stoke, so provided they can stay the right side of FFP, then you should hope finally Stoke will have a good season. But we've been saying forever and ever about Stoke, haven't we? Oh, you know, they'll pick up soon. And it's been a while, hasn't it? Right, unless any more questions come in the chat, I will bid farewell. Have I had Wagamama's cold turkey? No, I haven't. I will be going to Wagamama's the day restaurants open. Stoke have literally no assets other than Butland, and you know, his form went down the tube as well. I'm sure his value is gone. Bellingham, where do you think he will end up? Oh, you'd know better than me, John, wouldn't you? For Birmingham's sake, a Champions League club, but we will see. Steve says, wasn't Rick Parry, if it's Rick Party, there you go, involved in bringing in parachute payments? I believe he was. That would have been, I think they've been there in a small form right since the start of the Premier League, the parachute payments, but obviously the issue I had with the parachute payments was the going down to 3 years and the just massive swaves that came in around 2012, QPR on 4 years, and then that first year when it went down to 3 years and the money went up to 45. So yes, I do see the irony of Rick Parry being involved in putting it in and then lobbying against it. But I always think it's about the idea, isn't it? And if the idea is good now and it was good then and it's kind of got corrupted, then I think I can forgive Rick Parry that. Right, I am going to bid you all farewell. Hopefully, it's great to be back in live chat. The reason I haven't been in it is, as I said at the top of the video, that after I'd uploaded it, it wasn't appearing in people's feeds, which rendered it pointless comparing doing a pre-recorded one. So hopefully this is all going to work well, and if it does, I will endeavour to do these updates on live streams going forward. So, but I really appreciate loads of familiar names from back in the halcyon days when we used to do reviews of games, and still some Blades fans in there as well. Torsten says, look out for Mönchengladbach against Leverkusen next Saturday. I will no doubt be about 3 feet over there on that sofa watching it, so yeah, don't worry about that. So fingers crossed that the stream uploads properly, and apologies for looking down there, the camera's on the other side, I've set it up the other way. Right, thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully see you again for another live stream. If not, it will be a pre-recorded update depending on how well YouTube is working. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Get involved in the comments, keep the debate going. I will see you on the next video, and I'll echo what's just been said in the comments there. Stay safe everybody. June the 1st is fast approaching, and we know a lot of people are scared about that. So yeah, let's hope things work out really, really well. Right, thank you all for watching. See you soon.